Yeah, this is good. Man alive. I'm so glad that Jeffrey, our producer, is producing.
We're live.
Oh, well, there was no goat noise.
Where's the goat noise?
Where is my cue up to say go live? That's literally his job in this situation.
Right.
Ah. Hey, there's our goat noise. I don't know if anybody
Yay.
else out in the
No, they can't
in
hear
the
it.
great listening land
So
hears that.
as far as the audience knows, I did it. You guys just ignored it.
We just dropped the ball. We just totally
Negative.
botched it. Totally botched it.
Apparently, when I have a projector screen for us to see separately,
Yes.
it doesn't allow the audio to kick in automatically. So there's that. I got to figure out how to make that happen.
Okay. And do we have comments? Because is our live audience there? Or
Yeah. Danny Chief's already saying morning, guys.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, joined in the Grandma's Couch studio, largely built by our producer, joined by
Jeff Shermani.
the Italian Stallion.
Yep. And goat noisemaker.
And goat noisemaker. I promise you, folks, he is playing goat noises. And I think he was also a little caught off guard this morning because he likes fluffy creatures on his desktop. There's the goat noise in my ear again, which nobody else can hear. It's just annoyingly queuing me up. Good job, Jeff.
You're welcome.
But I think Jeff was actually caught off guard. He's blaming us, but I think he was actually caught off guard based on the fact that we were talking about whether he was going to have koala bears or some cute little furry creature on his desktop.
Here, I'm
He
gonna.
claims that it's some type of auto-generating background.
But we know.
But we know.
So, anyways,
We know that bunnies and kittens.
I have fixed.
alpacas.
I fixed the sound effects so they can actually hear what you guys have to listen to every morning that we do.
That's how he cues us up. Just so, just for a brief iota, if you thought we were some type of professional, like and go, and camera
countdown.
2 and countdown. No, he hits a goat noise to tell us that we're queued up to talk.
It's just for
But
this morning.
There's a reason for the goat noise being the specific sound effect, and that has to do with your family and affinity for stuffing goats into XJs.
Well, that is true.
That's fair.
That is fair. We've had some goat XJ stories, and it's not just my bloodline family, but my extended family of Scott as well, and our shenanigans. So
And we've talked about it. So if you want to hear about that, you have to go back and
previous podcast
and dig.
previous.
That's
Would you go already? Who the heck
Oh,
are you?
I'm the maddest mad
You
scientist,
don't even
Scott
know?
Brown.
Okay, thank you. Valve cover installer today.
Yes.
Finishing up for our lead performance mechanic who stayed home this weekend. We have a jam-packed episode, folks, and this episode is called The One That Got Away. And that's about ex-girlfriends or whatever significant other you so choose.
It actually may end up being about the topic that got away by the time we get to it because there is so much to talk about today.
There's a lot to cover, but we want you to hang in there for that. And at the end, instead of our balsa wood model, Jeep assembly plant, we will be doing some taste testing, which actually has been part. Jeffrey actually picked something up, and I actually picked something up from our friend Rob and Bill McWilliams from Wheeling this weekend. So.
Funny enough that I messaged saying I got us a taste test drink, and then you replied back, "Oh, that's perfect because I got us a snack."
I got a snack, so
it
hang
works
in
out.
there. We'll tell you about that as we go. We've got a ton of updates, personally, professionally, and whatever falls within those lines. We've got events coming up that we want to tell you about, and then eventually, while this is a Jeep lifestyle podcast. The one that got away. We'll be telling you that.
And I'm going to jump into the comments quick before we get too far into it. We've got Joe Brillo chiming in with his typical quote, all these worlds are yours except Europa. Attempt no landings there.
Okay. No, not to Europa.
Keith is saying morning, guys.
Good morning, Keith.
Bill McWilliams saying good morning, guys.
Good morning, Bill.
Giaga Jeeper saying good morning.
Good morning.
Nick Linda Perry, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And then Bill McWilliams, third gear from my I'll let you say the transmission stuff.
Well,
We
I don't know.
see
We
it.
can't see it, Jeff.
Oh.
You hadn't give us.
Yeah.
Jeff's
I
production.
don't have that on the screen.
You don't have it on our
Why not?
You know what? We're gonna need to put another TV in the
Yes,
studio.
we have already filled that one up.
We've
already.
filled that one up.
Of course, we could obscure
The
the paw.
teleprompter, the paw print of
that's
whatever
on his-
furry creature
yes,
it's on
whatever
his,
furry
his
creature.
desktop.
Well, the fun thing about that is these comments aren't going to show up there. I don't have a way to display that right now. But next week I will, because next week we're making a change to how we go live.
That's right. That's
And-
right. We're continuing our push forward in our. If you didn't know, this is the #1 voted off-road and Jeep podcast in the universe, as voted on by my mom. And as we continue to, push forward with that, not only did Jeffrey build us a beautiful, formal enclosed space so that we can have more guests and special intro stories. We can do some additional conversating outside of these live hours, which we'll record and then replay back to you. But we're making some change digitally as well. And so what is that going to entail potentially, Jeffrey?
So starting.
Don't worry, it's not going away at 1019.
No. 1019 is to stay because you guys remember that time.
That's right.
But the next step is, instead of just streaming to Facebook, we will officially start streaming on YouTube at the same time.
Yes.
So you can go to YouTube, the SFJ 4x4 channel, and watch it live. What's fun about that is it will only be on there live. After the live, it goes away and it'll reappear onto the I Speak Jeep YouTube channel as a recorded episode.
At the end of the week, right?
Yep, at the end of the week.
But if you find yourself on our SFJ 4x4 channel at that time, then you might want to, dabble around with some of our other videos. Just last week, The Savage put out a great video about gears, where we do a kind of a re-gear and gearing conversation for newbies, right? I really try to avoid getting into all of the complexities of Dana axles and corporate axles and Fords and Chryslers and all that kind of stuff. I really try to stay away from the numbers, the stuff where really like people's eyes glaze over, and I try to kind of touch on the surface level conversation, and people seem to be appreciating that so far. So,
and then Joe Harper saying, yes, YouTube all day. So,
yep. So we're going to be, so if you're not on Facebook or you're not a Facebook, enthusiast, which we have a number of those as customers, you might actually be a follower on YouTube. And so this might be an opportunity, instead of having to go and find us on Facebook and you don't have a Facebook account, you can go over to YouTube and find us on our channel there.
And that honestly is sponsored by our Patreons to be able to do that. So,
yes, a huge shout out to our Patreons. While we're talking about sponsorship and opportunities to get involved, we kind of talked about this last week, and I know Justin had chimed in, said he would be interested. You may or may not recall, last week we talked about the incredibly ugly tape signage on the beautiful wall behind Jeffrey and I on Grandma's couch. And what that is, if you are just tuning in, just kind of catching up on the episode, first of all, go back and binge all the other ones, and certainly last week's. But we have this tape signage in the new showroom. And, right now we should cue up like the Sarah McLachlan sad music about, for less than a cup of coffee a day conversation. And
it makes
you too,
Davey very sad.
Yeah, you too can do this, that, and the third. We have this ugly tape sign because we want something really cool, right? And it's in the works, and we don't want to jump, ahead of the curve here just yet. But we're asking you, our listeners, to be part of the Adopt a Sign program. So for roughly a cost of a cup of coffee a day, you too can be a valuable contributor.
Can remove the tape off our wall.
Can remove the ugly tape from our wall.
And make Davey happy.
And so...
We might get him to smile.
Oh, well, the Savage, probably
let's
not.
make promises we can't keep.
So we're going to be launching the Adopt a Sign program. You're going to see some graphics come out on our social platforms. We are going to be doing kind of a legitimized, potential crowdsourcing opportunity. That way, when you log on, you know kind of exactly what you contributed to when we do have this opportunity to reveal this cool sign that we're hoping that you will support in the process. So look for that coming down the pipe. Honestly, if you just want to throw a buck out there, we will take a buck towards the sign, and that will be perfectly okay. And we're just looking, as far as this, we are taking away from shop time. We're taking away from build time to bring this as a resource to your ear holes. And so, we're hoping that you value the content that we deliver and that you will think about contributing for the podcast studio specific and the ugly sign to go away. Right.
And in the comments again, we got Brad saying, good morning, fellas. But also Daddy Jeep saying the comments are fun here, though. Well, Rob, those comments are not going to go away. Those will still be there. Facebook will still be streamed as well. So that is important to note. We will be streaming on both, and we'll get comments on both.
Yes. More reason why we're going to need another teleprompter, I think.
Yes.
That just clicked with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That just clicked.
Yeah.
Well, additionally,
So those dollars might also
those dollars might also go to getting a secondary prompter so that we can read your comment as well.
And then Matthew's saying morning, guys, as well.
Good morning. Oh, my gracious.
Now, before we get too far into things, we did get fan mail.
We did.
And because AOL will sue me, I could not use the "You've Got Mail" audio, so we're just going to
So play that in your head.
Yep.
You've got mail. And fan mail is specific for our listeners, right? So those of you who are hardworking individuals, who are on the assembly plants, in your truck running across America, in the machine shop playing this, we thank you for ensuring that this content is played in your ears or over the boom box of the shop floor. But fan mail is specific for people who go back to their streaming platform and reach out to us in that capacity.
Yeah, and it's really fun because we get the fan mail, but we can't reply by message. We have to do it on air. So if you send us fan mail, you will get a shout out on air.
Yep.
This one comes from Hickory Hills, Illinois. Phone number ending 5404. This is
Do you have their social security number as well? I mean, what are we going to do, Jeff? You tell us height, weight, and
This is-
eye color?
This is literally what they want us to call out so that you know that you're the one being recognized.
Okay.
Because it doesn't give us names. It's just the last four of your phone number
That's right.
and your location.
Right.
The rest is all X'd out. I don't even get to see it. Built versus bought. I've done both, and as far as economics go, I believe it is more cost effective to buy someone else's build, even if it isn't perfect, and then make it your own. I bought a 2014 JKU roller, rock crawler 3-link front and rear coilovers, Ultimate Dana 60 crate axles, 42s, beadlocks, Genrite cage and half doors, PRP seats and harnesses, good rock sliders, rear body armor, worn winch, and that nice Alpine 409 head unit. Bumpers are junk. It isn't perfect, but I could never afford the parts new. Even after putting a stock powertrain in with a Rubicon T-case, I haven't spent what the axles and cage would have cost. I touch almost every bolt to make sure things are checked and right. Now that it runs, it's time to do things to make it mine. I'm not ashamed that it was bought. I built it back better and will continue to improve things. Love the podcast. Keep up the great job.
That's cool. That's great
that's
feedback.
Smart building right there.
That's
It's
awesome.
smart building, and
And that is a build.
yeah,
Yes,
it is a
100%.
build. And I did that for a long time. I loved buying half finished projects. Now I think an appropriate
We're bargain hunters.
we are bargain hunters, right? I think that's part of the Jeep community as a whole, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes relative where you're at on that bargain level. It becomes relative to your platform. But my thing with that, the only place where I think that there's a differentiation would be to say that if you're buying somebody else's project, you could also be buying their headache.
Yes.
And so if your expectation is an authentic restoration or a daily driver, then you really need to be conscientious about the craftsmanship that you are purchasing.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that I would say.
Yeah.
You
you know?
just need to look it over real good before you purchase.
Right. And if you're handy enough to be doing those things yourself, right? Because we get a lot of customers who come in and say, well, I just bought this not too long ago from X, Y, and Z, whether it be an individual or a buy here, pay here lot or whatever.
Yep.
And we're like, ooh, they pulled the wool over your eyes.
Yes.
You know?
Which is why we offer a crawlover. And
Yeah.
you can bring a vehicle that you're looking to purchase.
Right.
Hint.
It might be $170 that saves you a
ton of
huge
money.
headache. A huge headache. Yes.
Well, we're going to jump into our weekend updates. We'll do that quick. Then we'll get into our main topic, and then we'll come back and talk about all the
Sounds
upcoming
like
events
he's
that we
trying
have.
to do producer things.
He is, but bear with me. The Angry Turtle reached out to me in response to the fan mail piece as well, right?
Oh.
Because we were talking about it. And his feedback for us was that we managed to spend an entire hour of just discussing built versus bought without actually talking in installation versus builders. And he suggested that in the future, we talk
Oh.
about installers versus builders, right? And so this
That's fair.
concept of, what is a build sheet, and what he, was saying is that kind of an extension. So I thought, what, it couples a little bit of what we're talking here, because that's a build, what
Yeah.
you said there, right?
Yeah.
It's not you're not going to get running boards installed on the side of your Jeep. You
Yeah.
know, which is just like, hey, unbolt the body mounts and bolt these on. That's an installation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting little feedback there. So, all right,
Perfect.
go ahead, producer, move us along.
All right, weekend updates. Let's start with Scott. Work our way across.
So I cut 5 inches out of my car.
Oh,
Oh?
up, down.
I just like leading with that because
Did
it
you-
makes people wonder.
Oh, you know what? It was your bumper brackets. That's not
Yes.
cool. I thought you chopped it for a second. I was like, but I saw it in the parking lot. Did you chop it? No.
So
Man.
I have been trying for over a year to purchase shorty rear bumper brackets that they used to make. They used to even make them in stainless. And for whatever reason, even though there is a market for these parts, the powers to be decide that I am not going to produce this, or I'm only going to produce so many, which sends everyone into a tizzy, and then everyone tries to make bank off of these parts. So you literally have people going and buying out all the products while they're available, and then they will mark them up a significant amount. So even that, like, there was none on the second purchase chance. So I took one for my wife and said, well, I guess I'm just going to have to make them. So I went and I got some flat bar and came up with a rough idea of what I wanted to do, and bent a pair that matched was actually, was a little challenging, but I was able to do that, and everything bolted up nicely. Paint job's a little to be desired, but that's also, I was on the clock trying to get to a show right after I was building these. So went ahead and got all that on and was able to make it to the show. And so far, everyone is tickled with not having the car stick out, 5 more inches than it is
Awkward.
now.
Now, why did Ford do that in the beginning?
So they did that because it had basically a Continental kit on the back of the car from the factory. It had the spare with a metal cover and ring that was right on the back of my car. They had them on pretty much all of the 36s, except for maybe a Woody. And I thought it was kind of an eyesore, so I shaved that off. And then for the bumper stuck out to protect that spare that was no longer there. So
Sure.
I wanted to get that tucked in, and I probably went a little bit more than, say, like Ford would have done without a spare, but it came out pretty nice. And then, of course, after getting them all on, I have no templates or everything. Everybody's like, you should make those and
Always.
sell them. Okay.
Yeah, in my free time,
Yeah.
right? Go figure.
So, other than that, you guys, you will laugh, but this is a mad scientism. Doing math in my head is not my strong point.
That's why you married Amy.
Yes, she can do that. So I've had people like, oh, see you driving the car a lot. How you doing? Where you at on mileage and that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting close to that 1,000-mile mark.
No, you're not. You're way over that.
Yes.
You're way over it.
I am close to the 1,600 mark.
Nice.
Nice.
I am this close to being 2,000 miles on the car
Right.
because I can't do math.
Because I can't do math.
That's funny.
In his head, folks.
In my head.
In his head.
Yes.
I was
Use
gonna say,
it in geometric shapes and see the
Yeah.
matrix of how metal and
do that.
shapes are going to fit together and whatnot. But add and subtract a couple rudimentary numbers. That one's kind of lost.
Put the back bumper centered on the car by eye. I was able to do that.
Right.
Try to measure that and carry the one in my head. Nope, can't do it.
It comes down to it's too simple, so we can't figure it out.
Yes.
The complicated stuff, he's like, yeah, that's nothing.
Yes. Oh man, that's awesome. Isn't it funny how the Continental kits were once a sign of affluence and
Yes.
prestige, and now there's a handful of people who still like them. Usually, it's on the big gunboat cars more than anything.
Yep.
But otherwise, they're like shave it off, French it in, do
Yeah.
whatever. You
Yeah,
know,
it's terrible.
that's so funny. That's so funny. As far as my weekend was concerned, I had opportunity to go on a date with my wife on Friday. Nice impromptu stuff, and then I assembled a shoe rack. That was it. That's all I did.
That's not all you did for the weekend.
And put a Jeep in precarious places.
We are going to definitely talk about that.
We're going to talk about that. No, I actually had an incredibly full weekend. I honestly, I was in at the shop every single day. Good, right or wrong in between, it doesn't. I'm happy with it enough. But we're very busy, which is we're fortunate. We've got just a number of irons in the fire. We've got Jeeps that are headed out on transport. We had I actually did an oil change over the weekend on a Sunday just for funsies. We just got to squeeze people in where and how we can. But kind of the big highlight, which a number of people have seen on the social platforms, is that we had a fun run at Southington Off-Road, which I think we'll talk about here a little bit more, but had a great balancing act of investment in personal and family time and obviously kind of shop and wheeling adventure. And it had been a while since I really got out to wheel. And I'll be honest, I think the biggest takeaway that I'll share right now is it kind of got me fired up to kind of plow back into Chuck Norris, right? So if you recall, Chuck was involved in a single car rear end accident while I was trying to go to bed.
Unfortunate wounding.
Unfortunate. Yep. And somebody hammered into it, just a distracted driver, and pretty much kind of took the wind out of my sails. Which I guess I share with you because if you find yourself in the middle of a project, and you and I used to discuss this.
Mm-hmm.
Take a time out from it, put it in a different spot of the garage. Don't forget about it. Don't out of sight, out of mind it, but just take a time out and, but stay engaged in the community that you love. And eventually you'll kind of get reignited. And that's, for me, was a big part of this weekend. And so I'm thinking, how can I rob Peter to pay Paul and check out Chuck and get him, kind of trimmed up again and get Chuck back out on the trail. So
yeah,
that's it. We'll talk about Southington here in a minute.
So my weekend was also very busy with that family / work-life balance. We did obviously the Cannonball down to Southington. We did that run, and then straight home from that. Immediately had to get ready to go. I had to run the Jeep through the car wash because it was so muddy, and we had planned to use it for the drive-in theater that night. So had to do the car wash and then towel dry it while it's raining. That's fun. But we got that done really quick, loaded up. We took our daughter out to my aunt and uncle's. She wanted to stay there for the weekend for her birthday, so she stayed the night there. We took the boys to go see Beetlejuice 2 at the drive-in theater. Don't recommend. Which is surprising for me to say.
Sure.
That movie was, in my opinion, one of the worst movies I've ever seen at the drive-in theater.
No.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
Huge
We're
disappointment.
going to have a new intro. Movie reviews by Jeff.
Well, and it was every movie we've gone to at the drive-in, and you were right last week when we were talking about it. This was our 4th time going this year.
Okay.
We sat down and tried to figure out the movies.
That's what I thought. You'd gone 3 times. That was really fun.
Yeah, so that was our 4th time going this season, and all the movies have been great until that one, and we were just completely let down. And then we put the boys in the front of the Jeep with the iPad, and they passed out so that we could watch Trap, which was the second movie, and that one was arguably much better than Beetlejuice, but still.
But the bar was pretty low at that point.
Yeah, but it still wasn't a great movie.
Right.
It was good. I would recommend watching Trap, but don't bother with Beetlejuice. It's a waste of money.
Go figure.
Wow.
That's strong words.
On that bombshell.
It's strong words from somebody that loves Halloween, loves those movies, and was a huge fan of the first Beetlejuice. I'm
And-
telling you, this one was not worth it.
And for our listeners at home, I need you to know that it is obviously still just the second week of September, which as far as I'm concerned is still summer. And Jeffrey is once again rocking his signature limited edition spooky season hoodie from last year. So he is already fully prepared. On the relaunch last week, he was in a pumpkin jack-o'-lantern shirt. So, you know,
As far as I'm concerned, October started in the end of August.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
October.
October. Of course you did. So what else? So we said we were going to do a fun
I didn't.
one, right?
I didn't get to finish the weekend update. Because Sunday was our celebration for Lily's birthday, our daughter, and so we went to miniature golf and did miniature golf in the arcade at Sunview.
Oh, I love Sunview.
And Nick's place in Edinburgh.
Yes.
And that factually is where I found our drinks for today for the taste test. Because we were standing with the kids getting their tickets cashed out from the arcade to pick their little prizes. And I'm looking at this little vintage style cooler with vintage bottles in it. And I'm staring at these. I'm like, that is something we need to do on air because that is so unique of a... We'll see at the end.
Yeah. Super cool.
Sounds like I'm saving.
I'm
the
so
bottle.
glad you did because I actually, on our return trip home from Southington, first of all, we were famished. Second of all, the route that we take takes us close to arguably no standard civilization, right?
Yeah.
We run through some really dense Amish country and farmers' fields, basically, and how we traverse from our home area down to something.
Well, and when we were following you, we literally went through some of those fields, but that's okay. We had Scott Tick lead.
That's a technicality. That's a technicality. But there's this little area. It was Mesopotamia, right? And if you recall, there was actually some years ago we actually went wheeling with Scott Lindquist, which was a fun experience. And Scott has this video as we were hauling down there. And it reminded me because as we were driving to Southington this weekend, you went to pass this Amish buggy, right? And you passed them, comfortably. And I just remember this video, and I don't remember exactly who it was, whether it was Lindquist who was videoing or somebody was towing a vehicle. And they went to pass this Amish buggy, and it was like you were playing in a video game, and they hit the boost button, and this Amish buggy, took off in the video. It's on one of our one of our videos from years ago. And so I was driving behind you and you went to pass the Amish buggy and I expected it to hit the boost button and not let you pass it.
Put that horse in passing
Put
gear.
that horse in passing gear. Downshift the horse and take off. And it's on one of our videos. I'm not sure which one, but it was like the best thing. Well, anyways, it happened right there on the little square at Mesopotamia. As we were coming back, it's called the Commons, the Commons or the General Store.
And if you haven't gone and you're in the general area, you need to go.
I had no idea. I had no idea. So the wild piece. I know, but the wild piece is.
Did you eat there?
Oh, absolutely, we did because we're starving,
it's
right?
Awesome, isn't it?
And we're starving,
Yeah,
and I was
good
like,
choices
"There's
were
got to be there's got to be a restaurant somewhere." And so we're like A&W over in Grand Valley, Dorset, or whatever. And
oh boy,
Dairy Queen,
Orwell?
Whatever. I don't know. So they were bringing it up. They were bringing it up on the phone, trying to find these restaurants, and they were all like chain brands, which is cool because they employ good people. They're owned by local people, whatever, But I really like little tchotchke dive places, And I always drive past this general store, and there's a gas station on the corner, and there's a general store, and then there's like one other storefront. And there's always busy. They've always got vehicles parked out front.
Yep.
And I'm like, what could that be? And I had already missed a little corner convenience store called Herds, which had like an ice cream drive through, and I was like, we already passed that, and I was disappointed that I didn't stop there.
you much better to go where you went.
I guarantee that, but I spun back around and we went there, Leo and Savage and I, and it was awesome. It was absolutely spectacular. So I'm there. I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that my wife and I have tried to find all across America, right? And it's arguably right in our county.
Yes.
And I call her and I start talking to her, and because I'm a child, there's a bin of marbles, and it says marbles made in the USA, which of course, you know, anything gets my heart going a pitter patter because I love anything that's wholly made in the USA. And also because, again, I'm a sensory, like I want the sensation. And so I dive my hand into this giant bin of marbles, and they're 20 for $1. And I'm like, well, that's a great price for marbles. I don't know what I would do with all of them, but that's awesome.
Yep.
And so I'm playing with these marbles, and I'm talking to my wife, and she's like, oh, I just went to a place like that. And she's like, it was so cool. I had to like dig my hands around. And I was like, that's literally where my hand is. It's in the bin, you know? And then we started talking. She's like, yeah. And there was like this really cute candy shop. And I was like I looked to my left and there's candy.
Oh boy.
Long story short, we were literally independently, we have both gone to the same place, arguably within, 4 weeks of each other.
See their whole wall of different soda and pop.
So I almost bought us our drinks for today.
They have very off the wall stuff.
So off the wall. It was fantastic.
And then they have awesome jellies and all kinds of flavors you never could find
I
anywhere
bought
else.
butterscotch peanut butter.
Yes.
For the family. So
Yep.
pretty cool stuff. Anyways, that was the end of our Jeep adventures.
Somewhere in there, I haven't found it. This is just came from this year. They have a mini X that you can operate and dig and move things around.
So I told my son that it was just like the scooper that your son has, where it's just like little handheld things.
No.
I know, but I lied to him.
Oh, that's fine.
So that
Sorry.
So
Leah.
he now knows that.
So we didn't have to go find the mini X that kids or children at heart are allowed to operate.
Yes.
I
Need
know.
to follow them on Facebook.
No, actually, it said opening May, and Leo was like, we were already beat. We were ready to go home. I needed to keep a schedule because we had some evening obligations that we needed to attend to, and Leo saw the billboard outside, and he was like, well, it says there's mini excavators, blah blah blah, and the Savage was like, no, it's not open yet. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, May already came and went, and Savage was like, no, they mean the coming May, and I was like, thank God, Savage. Way to play that one off. Way to play that one off. Listen, folks, my son's a smart kid. He's 11. He's more put together than a lot of adults, so he's going to find out. If he hasn't already Googled it,
that or the fact that he's probably watching right now.
I mean, if he wasn't in class, he would be.
Right. He is in class
Yeah,
today. Yep. So Dalton also remembers the racing Amish buggy. So
yes, fantastic. Thank you for collaborating my story there. Anyways, so we actually went wheeling.
Yes.
And thanks to Ryan, who has been on the program before, the owner of #NotARestoration.
Mm-hmm. And never stuck.
And never stuck.
Which can never be called that again.
Oh,
well,
it's been stuck so many times.
He already got it stuck several times.
He stuck it several times originally.
Yeah, but Neil never stuck it until now.
Yeah.
Well, Neil will stick any vehicle.
So here's the thing, folks, right? So Chuck Norris is down, right? And if you watch
played the Sarah McLachlan music
for
Ryan and blinked at him. And
so Ryan's going to Maine to participate in a JJUSA with Joe Harper, who's watching today. They're actually going to be at the same Jeep Jamboree USA together. So if you're going to be at that Jeep Jamboree USA, maybe you want to send us some fan mail. Maybe you want to reach out, comment
have
on
a little photo op,
whatever, right? Photo op with our listeners who are all going to be in Maine together. So I could have taken my daily, right, which I did for Oil Valley, which was fine, and I would have bumped along and it would have been okay. I could have taken some other thing. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like nothing was really tripping my trigger. And of course, by somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock on Friday, I was throwing a grown man hissy fit to Jeffrey, and I was like, "That's it. I'm not even gonna go. We've got too much going on. This Jeep is supposed to be on transport." And
I guilt tripped him. I'm like, no, literally, I didn't want to go this entire time. The only reason I'm doing it is because you wanted to go.
He hit me with that. Hit me with that.
It's fair.
And I was just like,
and Scott had to give him all those parts to make him go.
You did.
Jeffrey, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
He did.
And I was like, we're so busy, and I've got so many irons in the fire, and I was like, I'm just not doing it. It seems like too much of a headache right now, So I do this. Well, so I'm talking to Ryan later on that day, and I said, hey, what do you think about me taking, Big Red and Never Stuck, to go wheeling, and he said, I asked him if he was going to go with us, right? So obviously when we put this out to people, everybody responded that they were going to come with us, right? Which was cool. Always, right? It was just like a regular wheeling trip. If you're listening and you're feeling down on yourself because you tried planning a fun excursion with whomever, and then at the end it was just like you and a buddy, like that's fine. That's the most normal thing in the world. You can
100%.
imagine how many people reached out to us and were like, yeah, I'm gonna be there, we're gonna go, blah blah blah. Now a shout out to the Connects, and Jake and family, and then Rob and Bill, and then us for all coming, right? That was our group. Now, we saw Josh there as well, one of our dedicated listeners.
Yep.
He was cruising with another club. And we saw a bunch of friendly faces from other clubs and whatnot, wheeling with equally their clubs and their people. So cool. Great for you. So thank you to all those people who came out with us. Now, Ryan was off doing something else, and he said, yeah, you know what? Go ahead. That sounds cool. Take it. He seemed pretty enthusiastic. And I was like, let's go. Full send. And he responded back, I have to be in Maine in 3 weeks. Maybe half send. So
Neil, full send.
If you don't know me, I don't have a half send.
No. It's full commit.
I'm full commit all the time.
Just real quick fun piece. So for some reason my alarm didn't go off that morning. And
this was the best because
I'm
running late, and I thought,
and I'm running around. He calls me. And he's like, "Hey, make sure you bring this along." I'm like, "Well, of course, it's on the counter." Oh, crap!
He's still in bed.
I'm still in bed. This literally woke me up. So I did 5 minutes
of getting ready.
Push the dog out the door, throw food at animals, find clothes, put stuff in pockets. Thank goodness the Jeep had gas in it because I filled it up the night before, pulled the Fred. And I'm literally backing into my turnaround and pulling out to my driveway. And I have to stop because there's this vehicle speeding down my road.
Speeding. Stop it.
And I'm like, that's Ryan's Jeep. So
because you didn't know I was in Ryan's Jeep.
No idea.
So he blows past me, and I literally got rubber going out my driveway. And he calls me again. He's like, I thought you were already there.
Yeah, I expected to be meeting up with you.
I was like, no, I'm following you.
Yeah, it was the act of serendipity. He pulls out. I honestly turned down your road for no particular reason.
Yeah,
just
perfect.
Just straight God on my shoulder, turn down this road and go.
I literally had messaged him, said, hey, I'm running a little bit late because my kids can't find their shoes. And then I end up getting to the parking lot, and he goes, I'm late too. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then Davey messages me. He goes, hey, Scott just woke up. I'm like, if you guys haven't left the shop yet, my money's still on Scott to beat you there. And then David replies, hand over the money, and has a video of Scott following you guys. I'm like, no. I said, if you haven't left the shop.
So how classic, right? I mean, how classic. So we're
and then
hammered
you just
down.
drive right past me.
So I'm on the phone with Scott. And you're sitting in the parking lot. I see you from 100 yards away.
I'm slowing down. I'm expecting to pull in, and he's like, just blows past Jeff.
Blow past Jeff on the side, and Scott's like, "Oh, we're not pulling in." And Savage at the moment was like, "Usually we stop and meet up with everybody." And I was like, "I go, Jeff's a big boy; he'll get in line."
So then this is also
so there
funny.
was my turn to burn rubber and catch up real quick.
So
I'm like, oh, they're just going.
So we jump
Convoy.
We jump on the freeway, and we're going a little bit, and suddenly he says, "Oh, Ryan's Jeep doesn't have any gas."
I had no idea.
And I said, well, you're almost ready to go into where there's no fuel stops or food stops, so we better do something about that. So we had to go into Jefferson to get gas.
Yep.
Which my memory, I thought there was 2 gas stations. There's 3.
Woo. Might as well be Conway, Ohio, right?
So then, because he obviously was struggling with some stuff, I led from there on and got us there safely.
Did a wonderful job, per the usual. But I think that the to just contextualize, yes, safely, and we met up with everybody.
Yep.
You know, it was just a great feeling. We had a very nice time. You know, as far as just first of all, Southington Off Road years ago. You know, as I try to tell people, it used to be called Jeep School, and when it was called Jeep School, there were simply uh, less established off-road parks. And so at that time, it had national notoriety. At this point in time, it's largely a regional park, but still people travel to it, right? They still put it on their list. It's open one weekend a month.
I saw lots of out of state plates, even with trailers there.
Correct.
When we were there.
Correct. And it's just a beautiful facility. You will, if you want to get in trouble, you will find trouble.
100%.
That's just, I believe that about just about any off-road park
Yes.
or trail system. And it has to do with, driver capability, confidence, the vehicle, your level of preparation, the lines you pick, all of those types of things.
I think a lot of it honestly comes down to the confidence specifically, because how many times have we seen somebody who gets themselves in a precarious position and they are too scared to advance?
Sure.
And we just give them that confidence to move through it. And we literally had somebody there that got up into an area with us, which he came up a more difficult path, but then he was afraid to go back down. He didn't know how to do it, and was nervous about literally the downward path where you're looking downhill. Had no problem going up.
Sure.
And then so you build his confidence a little bit, take him on a simpler route, and got him out of there.
Sure. And I think that that's one of the things that we have I've really appreciated. Again, I always say with people, like, we've done this, you know what I mean? Like, I should say I grew up wheeling. I mean, I started in high school and then prolifically through the late 90s, early 2000s. I did the things, certainly East Coast wise. And so, for me, I really like driving different vehicles because you kind of get a different flavor. And I like driving my own vehicle because then you get an intimacy with your vehicle. You kind of know the sounds, where to put the tire, how to do the thing, so on and so forth. But I've wheeled so many different vehicles out at Southington because it's been a good proving ground for us to take customers who have never wheeled before
100%.
and take them through the process, or B, drive a vehicle that you're a little unfamiliar with and kind of test yourself as as an off-road enthusiast. And I'm going to be honest, I absolutely whipped the beans out of Ryan's Jeep.
We know.
We know. There is.
I don't know if Ryan knew.
Well, Ryan knows.
Right.
The second he said, "Yeah, you can have it," he knew what he was doing.
Did he?
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Here's the number one takeaway. I have not wheeled kind of anywhere with so much air pressure on my tires. I am a big air down guy, and my biggest takeaway.
Air down this weekend.
No, we did not. Right?
Yeah.
We were lazy. If you were to ask us,
literally what it came down
if
to.
you were to ask us and you wanted to create well, why didn't you guys air down this time? Based on weather or climate, what? No, we were just flat out lazy.
Yep. That's what it came down to.
I didn't want to put air back in my tires.
I didn't
exactly it.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to take the time.
It was really funny because Savage was riding with me at the beginning, and he's like, "Geez, your truck doesn't really handle the trail very well." And we're literally just driving down the road, and I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about, Davey?" Well, it's awful bumpy.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, that's because the sway bar's hooked up because it has all these electronic gadgets, and I can't unhook the bar when I want to."
Figure out how to unhook the bar.
So,
well, no, he knew how to unhook it. It just kept reconnecting every
Yes.
time he turned the Jeep off and turned it back on.
If you shut the Jeep off,
Yes.
and the Jeep's like, "I am not safe. I must have my bar connected," and it'll reconnect the bar instantly. So I finally, to make him happy, rode around in 4 high and unhooked the bar every time we started the Jeep so that we would ride nicer.
I just like the part we get down to the beach and there was Jake was with us, wanted to take a line out. We wanted to give him a little bit of an obstacle, so Neil had me go first. And as I'm coming up, but he's like, "You went 4 low?" I'm like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
I was like, suppose I probably should put it in 4-wheel drive to go out, but
That's because you were flogging. I could hear you revving the piss out of you. Ooh, rubbing. I can hear you revving. I can hear you revving your Jeep. And so,
we did that goat noise.
where's the goat noise?
Oh, jeez. So in the comments here, the Dalton said the send button is on or off.
That's
Do
right.
or do not. There is no try.
That's right.
Daddy Jeep said at least you weren't on the side of the road draining gas out of the Jeep to dump into the tow rig like somebody.
That is what
Dot,
Rob
dot,
was
dot.
doing.
Oh dear.
That is what Rob did on his way there.
6-2 send.
So Bill is saying Ricky Bobby is a thirsty SUV.
Yes.
Apparently,
Which Rob hates the fact that his tow pig is called Ricky Bobby.
I
by
think that's
Bill.
hilarious.
For the friends at home, we have to put this in perspective. We have a GMC Denali loaded.
It is the bougiest tow pig
It's
I've ever. Now,
long wheelbase.
in Rob's defense, he had a crew cab, like big block.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember if
That's
it was a
what
four.
belongs in front
Well,
of that
that's what
trailer.
he was towing with. It got like 3 miles per gallon.
Yes.
And he went from this. I remember the body panels were different colors. So
Yeah.
they're all rust free and everything, right? He was
Yeah.
building it to a Denali with a 6.2
Long
6L80.
wheelbase.
Yes.
And it's a 6.2 6L80, like he's saying, and it has long tube like hater pipes on the back of it.
Yes. You can
The-
hear the
sound
thing
that
coming.
comes out of this GMC Denali. It should not come out of this. It should be whisper silent.
It should be. And it sounds cool
the
until
best
you see
part-
it. And you're like, oh, that's a Denali.
He bought it that way.
Yeah.
So there's two people.
Who are afflicted by this desire to have tubes on their Denali.
I got to give a shout out to my wife real quick because she literally just texted me the time track of when when I have to edit.
When we have to bleep me. Thank you, Kristen.
So apparently we were the only ones lazy in the group because Rob is saying he was at 6 psi.
Well, Rob is on a trailer.
But he came
That's-
in. He came.
If
in
I was
that way,
to
in my
come on
opinion.
Chuck on a trailer, I would be also at 6 to 10
Correct.
too.
Yeah.
He that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
He didn't adjust air pressure there. He changed lots of hubs.
He changed
He
hubs
did.
3
He-
times.
Yeah, right on the trails.
Right.
So Roy is saying, morning, I hope those aren't the recalled Harbor Freight jack stands holding up Scott's bench. And actually,
No.
I think those jack stands were made long before Harbor Freight was even an idea.
existed. Yes, those jack stands are true antiques.
Yes.
I don't know if that's any better, but
I'll be fine.
I trust those over a Harbor Freight one.
Ah, nice. So, so we had a nice experience. I certainly put Ryan's Jeep through the paces. As we mentioned, Rob changed hubs quite a few times.
Yes.
A shout out to, obviously we wanted to run a number of JTs out there. If you're running a school bus and you wanted to kind of get out on the trail. And we had a number of JT people who, again, had expressed interest initially. For whatever reason, they were unable to make it. But a shout out to Jake, who brought out, and I think what's funny
This
is
thing was fun.
It's such a controversial vehicle because the old school people, like the hardcore,
the AMC hardcore guys.
even the ones before that, they don't believe anything after their vehicle exists.
Right.
Jeep just started making junk after
In
whatever
1986, Jeep, as they knew it, died. It was done.
Ceased to exist.
Ceased to exist.
And it's blasphemous of any upgrades a YJ has, which, spoiler alert, there's a lot. But
Right.
anyway.
Right.
So,
YJ is just a glorified CJ. Just
so
you know.
I see on a regular, because I am on from the early Jeep pages to the Gladiator pages, where the Gladiator people are excited about vintage.
Sure. Well,
And-
we are a generation of nostalgia and the
Yes.
romance
Correct.
of the American heritage.
And from the beginning, the older camps said that they chose the name poorly, Gladiator, because they think of a Gladiator truck in the 60s. And they should have called it a Scrambler because it's Wrangler soft top Jeep based. And Jake ran with that idea
Mhm.
and made a Scrambler Gladiator complete with AMC flag logos and decals and the whole nine.
He actually had, I believe they're aluminum, white wagon wheel inspired 17.
To the whole
Had
nine.
the look. It was
He had the
awesome.
look. Now, the funny piece is, as we pull in, we just naturally pulled in next to him, right?
Yes.
And so we were lined in. When we pulled in to register and go inside, we just pulled in just
In
next to
fact, if you watch our live video from that day, Neil's literally checking it out as I'm live. He has no idea that I was live already.
Yes.
Right.
And he's just
I'm oogling it.
oogling
The-
this truck.
And yet the funniest part is his poor wife
His poor wife's inside of it.
is inside of it while we're just drooling all over this Jeep.
And his kids are in the back with it's tinted.
Yeah, he's
so
down at the wheel.
I'm down at the wheel. I'm poking at stuff. I'm looking all over this
No
thing.
shame.
No, I know. There's
She's
no
just
shame in my
sitting in
game. It's a
there.
Jeep world, right? And then I discover that she's sitting in the front seat, and I was like, "Ooh, whoopsie daisy!" I was like, I waved, come to find out, he was there to wheel with us.
Yes.
Yeah. He came out of
He's a
the
listener.
cabin and he's like, "Oh, you like the truck?" And then that's when we found out who he was.
Yeah, and that he was, a listener, and he wanted to stretch the legs on this thing. And, kudos to him because it's a beautiful thematic Jeep. For all purposes, it would have been okay that he never went off-road in that. That if that
it's
Jeep
gorgeous.
just goes and gets ice cream and looks cool and goes to the
Yeah.
Jeep meets and has the conversations, that would be okay.
Yes.
And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a thing. I bought the Jeep. It has 4-wheel drive. I want to try it, and I figured this was the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. And he did great. His wife was terrified at times, but overall, they as a family they did great.
Mm-hmm.
There was one obstacle that we said, this may not be one that you want to do, and there's a bypass. Take it this way. I'm following Scott up this path, and it's got a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And
It's important to note his is a manual as well. You're
Yeah.
both wheeling automatics. He's
Yeah.
still he's so old school. Throw it out
Yeah,
there.
he had a
He's
manual.
wheeling a manual. Okay,
So-
good for you.
I'm about to the top, and Scott's pulling over to stop, and so Davey could get out the film, and I'm rolling down my window, and I'm yelling out, "Spot him! He's following!" And Scott's like, "What?"
Oh yeah, and the top ledge of that is totally washed out.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
you got to put it just the right way. Luckily, I was able to get over there and be like, "Hey, keep your tire over there because you're one tire placement from being in trouble up there."
I wondered. I mean, I granted, I want to have faith in him and the vehicle
Yeah.
and whatnot, but that makes sense that he at least had a spot through.
I,
Because
I got stuck.
He would,
Not-
if he would have not had the right line,
Yeah.
you would have been in
Absolutely.
a lot of trouble there.
Yeah.
I agree. He was stuck on the
Especially in
side of the climb, and I was like, oh,
Not this time, but the time before, I took the truck up there and took the wrong line with the lockers engaged, and it would not come up that.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
yes, 100%. You have to go just right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Another shout out to Joel and Dan for coming out, and I love about them. They actually have 4 Jeeps, and you can actually follow them on Instagram at 4Jeeps Deep, which is their Insta handle. And interestingly enough, that name is not actually about their own personal collection, to my knowledge.
It's about 2 of their Jeeps
It's about 2 of their Jeeps
and 2 of.
and 2 of another customer of ours, Dale and his wife's
Yep.
Jeeps. And their Jeep adventures that they go on, and they brought out Clyde, which is predominantly Dan's wheeler. Joelle has Eugene, which is her wheeler, and they kind of take turns. They always, to my knowledge, they always ride together. They don't, they take one Jeep to the events that they go to.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Jeep couples who have their own independent vehicles. I think it's fun with them is they have their own dailies, then they have their own wheelers, but they actually largely come in one vehicle and do the events together,
Well, she's warming up to stretching her legs and learning the ropes and that kind of stuff. She, told me about that, but she's enjoying the whole experience immensely.
Yeah, you two had a wonderful time bonding over
Yes.
herbal teas
Yes.
and gemstones
While I was-
and the phases of the moon
While
when
I
we
was-
were supposed to be wheeling.
While I was picking quartz up out of the
Well,
the
you were
ground.
stuck, so it's okay.
Yeah. It's all true statements.
I did find myself in a precarious situation at that moment. It was
what was really funny is
fine.
we're all talking and somebody's like, "Well, Neil's stuck," and we just kept talking.
Yes, they were concerned, and you and Jeff were not.
We're
No,
like,
it's-
he's always stuck. It's fine.
It's fine. It's like he needs a time to think about what he's done, and we'll walk over there when we're ready. He's not going anywhere. He's just going to be right there.
He's stuck. He's going to be there for a while.
I decided. So there's a tire section, which most people stay off the tires because, and this is an interesting tidbit, a little talking point. Tires don't have good traction.
Yeah.
If you go
Especially
rubber on rubber, it's
in the
actually,
rain.
especially in the rain.
It was very wet that day.
And there's a great little tire portion of the playground, and I gotta say, I love how we kind of just spontaneously structured our day as far as we tried to get down to the lake to take our poser shot early so it wasn't so crowded. Kind of just got some people as a little bump around ride, and then we played a little bit at the little hill climb right over there. that kind of stuff. And then we went over to the obstacle course to
Rainbow Rocks area.
play with that a little bit.
And then back to the playground. The playground was the only area that was actually busy for us because of the way we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and ultimately, I decided, most people don't play on the tires. I decided I would play on the tires, but B, I would also purposely take the hardest line that I could pick by going up the backside, going backwards.
And then what did you remember after you got off the obstacle?
Well, I needed to actually go off of it in the easy path is what it should have done.
Neil, and he didn't want to do that.
But even so, the tire kind of bounced you because you didn't hit it square up.
I didn't hit it square, and so
It shifted you.
The tire shifted me as opposed to a rock that would largely stay in one place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that tire hung up under the differential. Big old, massive earth mover type tires that are buried in the ground and whatnot.
And he also forgot about the switch over on the dash that turns on the locker for the front axle.
I did also actually forget that there was a locker in the front of Neverstock. So,
the funniest part is then Rob got you unstuck.
Yes.
And then
And
he
the
promptly did the same thing, but with rocks.
And
but he found the perfect little V notch of a rock for his diff to just park into.
Yeah,
And it cradled and snuggled his diff.
I just snuggled. So much snuggling of his differentials. I mean, it perfectly grabbed him forward of his front diff and up between his control arm pocket and diff, and then on the backside of his rear diff. So there was no forward and no rear. He wasn't going nowhere.
Yep. And then, and strangely though, when you pull someone out, then you have to return the favor.
Yes.
Neil then wanted us to come off our obstacle to pull Rob out, and we're like, no.
They were all posed so nicely. You were posed for pictures.
I don't know if you realize.
And Scott was still picking quartz and talking rocks
I was
at
gonna
that
say,
point.
while he was still having tea.
Yes, he was having a tea party with Joel picking rocks.
I'm pretty sure he missed the fact that you couldn't pull Rob out because he was pulling you towards him.
Right. I saw it.
I saw it.
There was a random guy coming through. He's like, "You want me to hook up?" And
Oh,
anchor
he's
you?"
one of the volunteers at the park.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that ZJ I've seen before. Guy goes by the name Bocce. Other people who wheel SOR know him, pretty well.
Yeah,
beautiful V8. It's
Tonned.
a limited, tonned out. A guy from Pittsburgh. Good on him. Cool Jeep. Came in on a trailer. Very cool build. We ended up daisy chaining so that because Rob was trying to winch off of me and just was dragging me across the gravel at that point. So. We got Rob unstuck, and we had a lovely day at that point.
100%. And that goes to show, again, we've been
Well,
there,
we
done
had a
that.
lovely day. Rob just kept changing hubs on the trail.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Ford hubs are stronger than some big manufacturer.
Yeah, well, mile marker. Rob put him out there. Rob put him on blast. You can say it. I mean,
it's just,
he wants them to level up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the first hub change, he's like, yeah, I got Ford ones put on. I was like, ooh. He's like, yeah, they're actually better. I'm like, ouch.
Well, what I was thinking about Rob and his situation, because he was like, well, I don't want to buy the Yukons because they're so expensive, this, that, and the third. And I thought, well, I actually have the Yukons. They also, I broke mine at some point too,
Yes.
is what we can tell. So
drive flanges for all tons.
Drive flanges for the tons
Yeah.
is what it's going to come down to. So,
So back to comments real quick. Joe O'Brien had said yins need to let the summer air out.
that's
that's
we
fair.
did.
And then Amy saying good morning, guys.
Good morning, honey.
Darla saying morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And then Daddy Jeep said he still had a lovely day.
We did have a lovely day.
Thanks to Ford hubs.
So, we do actually need to talk about the one that got away. Do we have any additional updates or anything else that is particularly worth mentioning?
We'll get into. We can do the updates afterwards, right before the taste test, or even
Okay.
during the taste test.
That's probably appropriate. We'll do
Yeah.
it at that time. The one that got away is, as I've jokingly teased, ultimately, probably most often is referenced about, that significant other, that relationship, that
With
chance meeting.
Normal people.
For normal people.
That's not us.
That's not why you're listening to this podcast.
No.
So today we are talking about the vehicle that got away. If we could reach back into the archives and procure a vehicle that we would like to have back, what would it be? I actually just saw a real quick thing that's trending on the social platforms. A young man was gifted a car from his father. He made a down payment. It's sitting multiple states away in some other family's custody. It just sat there for a while. Now he went to go pick it up and pay the rest of the transfer fee and whatnot. And they they said no. They said, we're not doing it. We're not giving up this car. We'll basically give you this money back that you paid some years ago for it.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch, right?
Yeah.
And he had, basically it's this weird, broken family connection, and he wanted his deceased father's car, and thought that he could get it back, right? The one that got away. And I thought, how interesting. He kind of chronicles, some of the challenges. He kind of spitefully bought another car out from that family, equally, something else, and that's what is making his post kind of viral in nature. But ultimately, the thing was he wanted that car back because it had some nostalgia or some significance to him. So that's kind of the idea. Like, we all can kind of think about. It's a little bit different than what was your first car, because quite frankly, I don't want my first car back, right?
And I still have mine.
No doubt.
So do you have one that got away then? Because
He does. I know which one he has
It's
mentioned
just because I've referenced it before.
many
Yes.
times.
I was
many
actually
times.
digging over here in the archives trying to think if I could
If
come-
there's
another one
anything.
that just get me
Right.
off
Well,
the
and that's
path.
what I think that, yeah, right. try to throw a curveball at me. You don't get to do that. But actually, I'd like to start with Jeffrey and say, do you have one that got away that if you could dig back into your archive, and I'm going to go as far as it could be a childhood car. Maybe it wasn't even yours. Right?
I'm going to say I have two that I really miss. One was a Delta 88. I loved that thing. It was just a boat, and that is what I learned most about vehicle engine repair and DIY repairs on. It was my first car. I spent $300 on it, and I would love to have that again. That was such a fun car. But
Spoiler
Delta-
alert, it wouldn't be fun this time around.
Delta
'Cause
88.
I've tried this.
And that's probably true. Some things are best left in the past, and you remember them a certain way, and that's how
Yes.
they should stay.
It's a 4-door, right?
Yeah,
So it's a 4-door. Did you have the red cloth interior?
of course.
Of course. Did they come
was-
with anything but red
It was
cloth
the royal
interior?
It
package.
had the blue
The royal,
velour.
the blue velour was actually worse than the
Yeah,
red.
I would
It
agree.
was.
I would
Did
agree.
it have a little half soft top thing,
No.
fake top?
Oh, the
it-
vinyl?
It didn't have the vinyl.
No.
Must have been a lower model.
It was a
Yeah.
lower model for the peasants.
Yeah.
For the
It was only
peasants.
$300. Of course, it was a lower model.
Wire wheel covers.
Yes,
Did it?
I think so.
I was gonna say. I felt like the wire wheel cover was you got with the vinyl.
Well,
the vinyl
the guy
rag.
was liking the wheel covers, but didn't like the soft.
That's probably
that's
true. Well, you
it's
could
a mock
switch the
top.
covers around too.
That's
right?
true.
You could switch the covers
That could have
around.
been an upgrade later.
I had a friend in high school who had this car, right? And he went and got the vinyl top redone, right?
Oh.
Because you could go. There was these shops, right? Automotive customizing was just bigger at a time, and you did that. And so he went and he got a new vinyl rag top, and he got a sunroof installed and a full JL audio.
Of
and
course.
had the Beats,
Yeah.
right? Had the Beats.
I mean, it had all the room to put the beats in it too.
Had all the, oh my God, you could have a swimming pool in the trunk of
Oh, I
that car,
know.
that thing was outrageous. And he had the wire caps on it because it had the vinyl rag top.
Yeah.
And I thought that was more of that trim level that was up. But of course, it also had the god awful red plush interior.
Yep. So that was the car. But
What
as
year
far
was that?
as,
Late
off the top-
80s?
It was late 80s.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's what I figured.
I can't remember the exact year.
That's fine.
It's long time ago, a lot
Sure.
of vehicles ago.
Yep.
But the one that I miss otherwise, and you're gonna have all the jokes, I'm sure, but
We
was
would
my,
anyways.
my 2004 Grand Cherokee. I love that thing. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was comfortable.
Mm-hmm. It's like driving a couch.
Go ahead, say it.
It's like wheeling a couch. That's the truth.
They have some good qualities.
I mean, it was.
Some.
I'm gonna say it just because I know how much you love it. It was a Laredo package.
Of course it was.
Of course. You know who's not surprised?
You.
Yep.
But it had the heated seats, the leather
that short out the
seats.
entire
Yeah,
vehicle.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And actually,
4-cylinder or 6-cylinder or 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder or the V8.
it was a V8.
So it was a 4.7. It was a dog of an engine.
Yeah, it was
And
ready to
Absolutely garbage.
blow the
That is
apart.
Blow the
literally
heads
why
apart.
I got it. Yes, that's why I got rid of it.
Did it blow the heads apart or
egg-shaped cylinder.
perfect?
So yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Listen, if you drive a JK, if you drive a JL, if you drive a JT, think a 2003 to 2006 Grand Cherokee owner.
No,
2005.
no.
Yes.
2004.
A
was the last
99
year
to
on it.
04.
99 to 04. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
There we
I'll
go.
revoke half his Jeep car.
Oh, ouch.
Well, the fact that I knew it switched it.
Ouch. 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 You know what? The thing is, it's really when it went downhill in '93, and that's the talking point piece.
Well, 93 is when
oh
it came out.
my God! I mean, you know what?
Stop
Maybe I'll
talking.
be quiet at this point.
All right,
2003.
let-
2003.
so what was your Jeep that got away or
No.
vehicle?
Wait a second. I'm not done dogging on Grand Cherokees yet.
No, we can be done with it. It's fine.
Everything that you like in a JK, a JL, or JT started in that god awful Grand Cherokee platform. So
Yes, it did.
just the ZJ was the only good Grand Cherokee ever made.
That's fair.
There you go.
All right.
Or the SRT8.
Oh, that's fun. We're gonna
That's
talk about that.
We're
going
going to talk about that
Not
coming
today.
up, not in a future podcast.
Yeah.
The one that got away for me. So I'm going to start with my dad, right? My dad had classically, as many guys of that generation, you know, they didn't think at the time that car was cool, you
Yeah.
know?
That's the makings of a cool car.
That's the makings of a cool car. It's disposable. It's going to be the XJ Cherokee in 40 years, right? If you've
Yes.
got a clean, drivable XJ Cherokee in 40 years from now, it's going to be worth a mint because we took it for granted, right? And then we had cash for clunkers and we scrapped them all. So even if you have like a Renix era or an early 90s, an HO model, it'll be extra cool in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
My dad had a 67 Chevelle, kind of that most beautiful squared off, you know, kind of it was not a built engine or anything like that, but he doesn't remember a whole lot of the exact details because it was a transitional car for him, you know? Additionally, he had a 56 Corvette, that, would kill to have back
Learning
in some
things
regards,
today.
right? Yeah, so you know he was into a number of vehicles. Now I'm gonna go the vehicle that he had that I would have liked to have had was a late '80s K5 Blazer.
Mm.
That
That's fair.
was a cool truck, you know, and arguably right up and through that my high school experience. If I wouldn't have gotten the Wrangler, I would have gotten a K5. And who knows where the world would have taken us from there,
Yeah.
you know? But I strongly desired a K5. At that time, there was K5s weren't available, right? Because it was the late 90s. You had like a re-release of the Blazer itself. And so
Wasn't good.
it wasn't good. But people liked the K5, so they had a high market value.
Yes.
And of course, you know, we loved Jeeps at that time, and so we were the Jeep was actually more affordable because YJs had a low market value, arguably at that point.
At that moment, most of them didn't have 4-wheel drive.
Right.
The motors were blown up or ailing.
Yes.
The trannies were blown out of them.
Right. CJs were actually more expensive
Yeah.
because they were more desirable than the YJs at that time. Right. I mean, they were still in production, arguably. And the early YJs were, you know, such a dime a dozen and just not well, you know, longitudinal. Yeah, they weren't well put together as a engineered package. They were cheap. So that's what I ended up with, the world's worst YJ, 1987 YJ. That's not what I want back, though. That's not what I want back.
That's good.
Do you know the one that got away from me?
If I had to guess, it would be your 95 YJ.
No. Good choice. Baby Jeep. But I that one was cool.
But you also scratched that itch a little bit.
I scratched that itch, right?
So that kind of takes that one.
All
off
right,
the
folks.
table.
This will come as probably no surprise once I actually articulate it out into the universe.
It's a station wagon with the backward seat.
No.
A 1993 G20 conversion van.
Oh,
Mark III.
I
Mark
can't believe we
III,
both missed that one,
Mark
Scott.
III
I should've
conversion
known that one.
package,
We
high
sh-
top,
we should have.
skylights, red curtains, fold down bed, cooler in the back, mini TV, 13-inch mini TV,
Yeah.
305 gutless dog of a
And
305
Then
V8.
you hooked a car trailer to
And
it.
I hooked a car trailer to it. You
Yeah.
go anywhere, you'd sleep right in the back. I'd haul
Well,
vehicles.
Go there at 3 miles an hour. As fast as the 305 could go.
3 miles an hour.
I mean, it's your standard speed on the highway, Scott. It's
That's
fine.
fine.
It is your standard speed, Grandpa.
Have to pull up to a tanker, nurse off of that as you're going along.
Wow. I just can't believe we both missed that one.
Yeah,
I was
that's
thinking
the one.
Jeep.
I know.
That's the one that got away, man. I still,
He does fancy himself a conversion.
I'm
van.
a conversion van man, and I think I may still have a conversion van in my lifetime.
It is amazing because we just grew up. Those are just everyday cars. That's
Yes.
just what you had.
Yep.
And more going to car shows, there are vans coming out of the woodwork.
Yes.
And if the cooler they are, the more house stuff they have inside of them.
Yes.
And the OGs obviously are the shag and the little.
Yep. I don't
the-
even want that. I
Yeah,
want.
you want what we remember from kids.
I want that standard conversion van experience. One of our good customers, listeners, friend of the business, Chuck, went out and bought one very similar
Yep.
just the last couple of years. I about near lost my mind over that one.
And then he promptly brought it here to tease you with it. It was
Absolutely,
awesome.
absolutely. It had the full door and the half door that opened up, so you had this big
Yeah.
expanse. We went kind of everywhere in that thing, which is what you did at that time,
Yep.
But I remember tailgating at different, athletic events, music events. Obviously, you give a teenager a conversion van, and things are going to happen. So that we have
Danger.
great experiences there.
Do I have to do another edit? We're gonna have to. Let's move on to what Scott's got away.
But then eventually, I cut my teeth. We start doing a lot of work on it, and that becomes my first tow pig. And unfortunately, we had a unfortunate situation with a guardrail that kind of blew the doors in, and then it was kind of all downhill for the van at that point. Rust set in, and we ended up just rolling across scales. Beautiful. It ran and drove so beautiful. Brakes were brand new, and my parents just want rid of it, and we just drove it across scales.
What makes this interesting is your vehicles that got away from you are ones that ultimately either came to rust or were damaged in an accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mine were the engines got blown. So what about you, Scott? Let's talk about how yours got away from you.
How did those engines get blown, Jeffrey? I just wonder.
Well, I told you that I learned how to work on vehicles on the first one, so we know how that happened.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
And then he bought a 4.7, so I mean that
And
goes without
that was-
saying.
Right.
That was
that was
blown,
inevitable.
Comes with the territory.
blown before he bought it. But
Correct.
Anyway. So I'll do two, just one to throw Neil off, and then one that pay homage to the one that knows it is, because I've said it over and over again. So the one that got away that I owned, because I'm gonna do one with my dad as well, was a '66 Gladiator J2000. I bought it for $100.
Yep.
I sold it for $100 after selling the grill out of it because I couldn't get a title for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it broke my heart. It had a 327 AMC with a 3-speed on the column.
What do they call that? The Valon or the Valiant or something? What?
Vigilante.
Vigilante.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And it was a little rusty, but it was okay. It could have been fixed up, especially
Sure.
now I could have fixed it.
Now.
But the thing that broke my heart the most is I had sold it to a guy in EJP,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as that deal was done, and I sold it at a pittance just to try and not have it get scrapped, the lady that the state that I got it from called me and said, "We found the title," and I'm like, "You ought to be kidding me!" So I did the right thing, and I just passed it through to him. And last I knew, he still wasn't able to get it registered because of the whole mess of that stuff. And I had actually found this truck on Marketplace or Craigslist, I don't remember now, and like messaged a guy and pulled up pictures and proved that it was the same truck.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time, it was a new thing, and he was back and forth whether he was going to sell it or keep it.
Mm.
So I at least know it existed after the guy I sold it to. But
Sure.
that's one I wonder all the time, like where to go, what happened to
Yep.
it. And J2000s are kind of odd. They so for those that don't know, in the 63 through 70-ish, when they were J200s, J2000s, J3000s, 4000, that kind of stuff, that's not the capacity of the
Right.
truck.
Right.
That is the wheelbase. And a 2000 is a medium bed, is what
Yes.
I've been calling it. It's not a short bed.
Mhm.
It's not a long bed. It's like this very proportional, cool wheelbase. And the ones you see now are usually 3000s, 4000s, and they
Yes.
are like long as
Long.
heck. So that truck was just, it oozed cool, and I'm sad I never got to do anything with it. It was kind of like had all this hope when I got it to what I was going to do with it and how I was going to swap it around and that kind of stuff, and then I just kind of had to give up on it.
Yep.
So then the other one
That's the one I knew, folks.
that actually sort of surprises me, but I think it's just nostalgic, is when I grew up in classic cars, the car I remember riding around in was a 56 Chevy 210 two-door sedan Post. It was black on black, had black vinyl tuck and roll interior, had kidney bean slots on it that my dad had put a spinner cap with like this little thing that held hid the lug nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It had full stainless exhaust, two separate pipes, duals.
That's how you did it, right?
It had at first it had a 265 3-speed.
I was about to say
column
what? Yeah, I was gonna say what driveline
with
did
a
it have?
4-barrel, and he switched it over to a truck 350 with a tune port fuel injection called First. It was an aftermarket thing. It was not good.
Well, that was what none of them
Yeah.
were good up
And it
until
would
very
either-
recently.
Either ran great or ran horrible. It literally had a little box that was underneath the dash. You could change the way it ran as you drove. Spoiler alert, that did not work.
No.
And he ended up pulling that motor out of it and put just a bone stock crate 350 in it.
Okay.
And we drove the wheels off that car until he sold it. And at the time, he actually asked me, is that car something you're interested in? At that time, I saw Gremlins and AMCs and other odd vehicles, and the Tri-5 Chevy was not something I was interested in because there was just them everywhere.
Sure.
Until they're not.
Yeah.
And they're worth $1 million, which makes it, I didn't want it because, or now want it because it's worth a lot of money, but because now they're all rusted out and worth $1 million, the opportunity to get that back is very hard.
Sure.
So because I grew up in the Tri-5 Chevy, I know them pretty well, but it's just something that I have a lot of fond memories of riding around in the back seat of, and what tape we would play and that kind of stuff. That's the kind of the car that was my childhood. So
That's so funny. That is one of my bucket list cars, or in that era.
Yeah.
Right. That era of cars. I've always wanted one of
what's
those.
really funny is 56 is the unloved Tri-5.
Yes.
Everybody loves a 55
Yep, there
or a
we go.
57. But because I grew up with a 56, that was really my choice.
Right. And I would always choose a 55 if I had to produce
Yeah.
of that era, which one was my favorite. So
Yep.
very cool. The one that got away. We'd actually love to hear from you about what yours is, right?
Yes.
Which vehicle would you like to have back at this point? You can hit us up on our text only number 440-855-2100. You can email Jeff directly at jeffc@sfj4x4. Or if you're so inclined, feel free to send us some fan mail on off of your favorite streaming platform, and maybe we will read your fan mail on air as well. Jeffrey, are we prepared to taste test and do a little bit of logistics?
I think we do the taste test and then start talking about the events as we're doing the taste test.
Yeah, we've got
So
some things that we need to bring you up to speed on, folks. So stay in there just a little bit longer.
What you're gonna find next, you guys, are brown bags with drinks in them that are not alcoholic.
I was
The brown bag is specifically to hide what it is because they're all different. There is a lemonade inspired drink in one of those bags because Scott was upset that you claimed
pouting.
it while he was on the phone. I
my
mixed the bags up, and I don't know which one is which. So I don't know what you're gonna get.
So I feel like I'm grabbing a fortune cookie.
Yes, it's a fortune
Go ahead,
cookie.
grab you get to pick first. Oh, you're going for that one.
All right. So as you pull these out of the bag. I want one of you to read off what it is.
Oh God.
Oh dear. So mine says it's always ask for Avery or Very. I don't
Always ask for Avery's as a brand.
always ask for Avery's, and then it says totally gross soda. It's so disgusting. They've got great marketing.
Yeah.
And mine is called Monster Mucus.
Mine is dog drool, orange lemon. So I'm guessing this is the lemonade.
Monster
Yep.
Mucus is strawberry blue raspberry.
I got Alien Snot, which is a kiwi blue raspberry.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is great marketing. This is super cute. And you said you got this from where again?
This was from Sunview Golf Course, miniature golf at that Nick's
yes,
place.
I love that.
So they had like the vintage Sprites in the cooler, and I started looking through it. I'm like, these just are so uniquely marketed that I had to grab them.
Yeah, it looks like a bottling company is in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it's a twist top, so
Okay, I'm glad you knew that.
I didn't.
So-
I just checked.
We're gonna have to get a bottle open here just in case. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and produce then my little snacky snack while we're tasting this. Thanks to Bill. Bill is the official snack producer of like when Rob and company go. Bill is the snack guy.
Yep.
So he was wandering around, and this is a venison from a deer that he actually shot himself. Local smokehouse to kind of
Maybe.
what I would call upstate Western Pennsylvania. And so this is venison jerky, but they have pepper jack cheese down the center of it as well. So I am going
It
to.
looked like it had cheese when he was on the trails. I didn't
Yes,
try one
yes. Well, I did, and it was
So
delicious.
we have one thing that's going to be good and one thing we're probably going to
then.
not like.
I'm here for the venison jerky and monster mucus.
That's pretty good.
It is excellent. It is. So what do we got coming down the pipe? Cheers. Oh, I went to cheers. Oh, no. Nope.
Air cheers.
Yeah, air cheers. That's all you get. Monster mucus down the hatch.
It's actually pretty good. I don't know about your guys's.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's like a.
I feel lied to.
It's not a lemonade.
No, it was going to be terrible. It's actually something I think I could finish drinking this now.
I think I could fish. This is really light, honestly. It's kind of like a light grape, but it's strawberry and blue raspberry. So I don't know where I get that grape feel, but
No, it looks like a grape. So yours is.
I think it's
that
maybe
dark-
cognitive dissonance for
Yeah,
me.
yours is like a dark purple. Scott's is like a light pink, and then
Yeah.
I've got like this teal
If
colored.
the label didn't tell me otherwise, I'd say this is pink lemonade.
Right.
Which is why it's called dog drool.
Right.
It's cute. I mean, it literally kind of looks like a pinky drool.
Yeah.
I'd say yours is a cola or a grape drink.
Yeah, I think it's like a grapey color and shape.
And then,
Mine is a Kool-Aid burst.
yes, that is very good on that color.
Kool-Aid burst.
Dating ourselves there.
Maybe. So coming down the pipe, obviously this week, Wednesday is 9/11. So moment of remembrance for that and the events that unfolded and the lives that were lost and the way that it affected our lives. And we've talked about that on previous episodes and how it got us to where we're at today.
Absolutely.
What changes were there. But in celebration for 9/11, Freedom Crawlers is actually giving away that mini Jeep finally, the one that they've been marketing. We had here at the shop. We've talked about it on the podcast.
Yes.
So the mini Jeep giveaway is going to be drawn. The drawing is live at Tractor Supply in Ashtabula Wednesday at 6 p.m. and they'll be on their Facebook page, Freedom Crawlers. You can look them up on Facebook. They are still selling tickets, I believe, up until,
To my knowledge, there's a digital link that you can still be procuring tickets for.
Yeah.
I think it was at its last physical. It was at like a county fairgrounds or something
Yeah.
over the weekend. But
I
I
think all the
believe you can
physical
still-
tickets are done. It's digital ones I think you can
correct,
still buy.
I believe so.
But you'd have to look it up. The mini Jeep is really fun. I can't wait to see who ends up winning that. Obviously, Neil issued a statement to our listeners that if you did enter and win, that he was going to help
Shipping.
transport it.
Transporting, yes, we would help freight it and then even compensate some of the freight charges.
Yep. So there's that. Coming down the pipeline, events coming up. We've got Bantam Trail Fest.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really fun again, and we are working to get Rob from Daddy Jeep to come on and do a interview talking about the upcoming changes and what is making it better this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to watch for that. Additionally, we've got October 26th. There's multiple activities going on for that.
I think the one specific Jeep one is going to be the Meadville, Pennsylvania Halloween Parade, and the organizer of the Tool City Jeep Jam, which is a nice movement that's happening in Western Pennsylvania, kind of halfway between Erie and Pittsburgh, is going to be, trying to arrange a participation in that parade. And we are trying to support that process, both through, some marketing, but also hopefully one of us will be there as representation and participation in that parade as well. Also, there's locally, there's a business candy giveaway, and so we'll probably have the shop open, participating in that, letting some of the public come in and see our facility and hand out some candy and make kids happy.
And then the next thing coming up after that is our countdown to SEMA.
Mm-hmm.
So we're beginning that process, and we're going to start planning our trip for that. And obviously the content that we produce for that will be planned out and sorted out how we're going to bring that to you as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final upcoming event that we're starting to plan for is the Christmas parade.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is Black Friday, so it'll be in November. And realistically, the goal is, kind of this ambiguous, largest nighttime Christmas Jeep parade, in the country. And if we can we keep trying to break our records of participation. The local community loves seeing all the Jeeps, and it's a nice parade. It's a nice way to give back to the community. We always try to make a nice video of sorts and commemorate it. And so we're trying to flush out those details, and we want you to, make a save the date, if you will, for that Black Friday. It's always an evening. Typically the parade's 6 or 7 o'clock at night. We'll gather here at the shop. Lots of stuff to do and talk about and share, and then we'll stage and go.
And even Scott got in on the decorating of the Jeep last year, and
Me and my wife that decorated the Jeep.
so Scott's Jeep was very well decorated, almost more than mine, I think,
Yeah.
because it was a weird turn of events.
Yes. I love seeing how creative people get. I mean, just
Some of them are really fun.
so awesome.
The
So awesome.
one year somebody had a whole house built on top of their Jeep.
Mhm.
That was
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, very cool stuff. So lots of stuff coming down the pipe. We're going to keep reminding you of that as we go forward. And we invite you, wherever you're at in our listening land, to come and participate with some of these events with us in the near future. All right, great time together, folks. We've got Jeeps to build. We got things to do. We got calls to make, Jeeps to send off. And we'll plan for our next one. We'll do it again next week, 10
What is our
19
next
a.m.
one?
Race Jeeps.
Race Jeeps.
Race Jeeps. Tune in for that next week. Until then, Jeep on.
Jeep on.